Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with my Brewdog catch-up that I've been filming for you while I've been home in Scotland, and we've actually got one of Brewdog's older beers today. This one was released back in January of 2014 if I'm not mistaken, and it's actually still got the old Brewdog label on it. So we're going to have a taste of Clown King today, and this one is a US barley wine, so should be a pretty awesome one. This beer was rated 92 on Rate Beer, and as I always say, that website is a very good kind of barometer if you want to know how good your beer is, so should be a very nice one this. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews. There's about 70 or so of those now, so do check them out if you're particularly interested in Brewdog beer. And there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you do want to see more beer reviews, just subscribe to the channel, and don't be scared to suggest beers to me as well. Some of the suggestions I've had have been pretty awesome, so I will try my best to review the beers that you guys ask for, so don't hesitate to get in touch. But anyway, to tell you about Brewdog, so as I've told you many a time, Brewdog is the love child of two guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded back in 2007 with their first brewery being a very small one in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I always like to say. But more recently, I think it was 2009 or 2010, they moved their brewing operations to their new, very shiny and purpose-built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen where I used to study. And of course, they are looking these days to open up a second brewery in Columbus, Ohio in America. So there's some very exciting times ahead for Brewdog, of course. But these guys are known for being a very experimental craft brewing, particularly as well for their strong ales. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer on 3 separate occasions. That was the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, the Sink the Bismarck, and also the End of History that they produced. But largely, they've bowed out of this race now, and these days they're known for their IPAs, pale ales and double IPAs. They say this is their trademark style, although personally I would argue that Brewdog are very good when it comes to stouts as well. Maybe I would even go as far as saying that I like the stouts better than some of the IPAs. So they're a very interesting brewery nonetheless. They're largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance, and if you talk to the head brewer Stuart Bowman, and even if you talk to James Watt and Martin Dickey themselves, they do say that Stone Brewing Company was a huge influence on them. But these days as well, they're very known for having a kind of thriving chain of brew pubs. These started in 2009 with their home bar in Aberdeen. I was there on the first night. Don't remember much of it right enough, but it was very nice. But since then, these bars have spread all over the place. They're all throughout the UK now. There's ones in Sweden, Norway, Finland, I think. There's one going to open in Germany soon, France, Spain, I think, Italy as well. There's one in Japan and one in Brazil too. So these bars are all over the place. There's so many places that you can drink Brewdog beer, and of course they're exporting their beer all across the world. You can get these as far away as New Zealand, or I think probably down in Argentina and Chile on the other side of the world too. So a very widely exported brewery these days, and they're actually the largest independently owned Scottish craft brewery, and I think they're probably actually the biggest brewery by volume in Scotland at this point as well. They're producing a hell of a lot of beer, but they're very good. They've got an interesting business model as well. Many of you might have heard of their Equity for Punk scheme. This is where their fans of the brewery it's basically a crowd-funded brewery. The fans can buy into the brewery, and in exchange for buying shares in the brewery, you get a lifetime discount in the shop and also in the bars, and they use this to fund many of their infrastructure developments, new bars, new tanks for the brewery, and all of this sort of thing. So a very interesting brewery, and in fact they have just released a book on how they actually did it. So if those of you studying business, there's a very interesting business model to be looked at here. But these guys, they've got a core range of beer. There's about 6 or 7 beers in the core range, and then they also have their amplified range as well, and it's the amplified range that I really would recommend you try. That's where Brewdog really shine at some of the higher ABVs, I would say. Dogma is a personal favourite of mine. I really enjoy Riptide as well. Jackhammer, if you want to go for something a bit lighter than those two, is very good as well. But they produce quite a few regular series. The IPA is Dead is a good one. That teaches you about the different hops. There's the Paradox series, which is use whiskey barrels to age imperial stouts. Those are very good as well. There's the Hello My Name is usually double IPAs with different berries, and there's also the Abstract series too, which is very nice. So there's a whole host of things from Brewdog. The most important thing is that you go and check out the website and you can learn a little bit more about these guys. But anyway, that's enough about Brewdog. Let's get on to the tasting of this one itself. I actually couldn't find a hop and malt profile for this one on Brewdog. I think that's maybe just because it was released quite a while ago. And it doesn't tell you on the bottle actually what ones they have in this one, but it does have Finnish, incidentally, which is it's quite interesting. Finnish is a bit of a crazy language. I speak a bit Swedish, so yeah, Finnish is even crazier than that. But this one comes in at 12% US style barley wine. I'll just let you have a little quick look at this one before we open it up. So you can see it has the old school Brewdog label on it. It's a nice sort of burgundy, kind of Heart of Midlothian colour. Heart of Midlothian, for those of you outside of Scotland, is one of our football teams in the league here. You can see it's got one of the old school Brewdog bottle caps on it, the black with the golden dog. They used to put that on their higher ABV beers. This one is 12%, as I said. But it says on the side here, the famous Brewdog blurb, the infamous Clown King is in town, and so is his circus of salaciousness ready to corrupt the senses. Like a twisted house of mirrors, distorting fantasy and reality, Clown King blurs the line between two show-stopping styles, a barley wine and an imperial pale ale. The result, a 12% ABV freak of nature that goes by the name of an American barley wine. Loaded with big fruity hops fired willingly from the cannon, prepare to feel your taste buds contort against ripples of rapturous malty applause. Then it's time for Clown King's finale, a magic trick of sorts, disappearing through your glass and into nothingness. Just make sure you're the one having the last laugh. So, should be quite good. I have to admit, I really like American barley wines. They've got that nice fruity hoppy character and a really nice malt base too. I like both sides of beer, so the barley wine for me is a very, very good one to go for. So let's get this guy open. Yeah, so as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this guy. You can really smell the caramel coming off this actually, nice toasted caramel, and you can see how syrupy that is as we pour it out and into the glass. Sugar up the last little bit, get a wee bit of head on it, and there you are. Best way to pour a beer, I would say. 12% barley wine, and it says on here incidentally best before the 15th of October 2018, so I still had a little bit of time to drink this one, but I thought it's probably best to do it now since I'm not going to be in Scotland for another year, and it's always good to try these different Brewdog beers too. So as you can see, this guy is poured, if I hold it up to the light, to me it's a kind of nice reddish amber colour. I'll just put it under this light here and let you see it, but it's a nice sort of reddish coppery amber colour, this one. Looks really good. It's maybe a kind of blood orange colour is another good way to describe this, but there's a solid quarter finger of a frothy, slightly beigey coloured head, a very light beige, almost sandy colour this one I would say, but it looks very, very nice nonetheless. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and if I put my fingers behind this beer, even if I do it up here, there is a level of transparency to it, but it is mainly an opaque beer. Some big bubbles on the side of the glass and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. One or two little tiny bits of sediment, but not really very much at all. So let's give this guy a smell and see how we get on here. Oh yeah. So without even shaking it up too much, you can smell the nice beautiful barley wine malt base on here. There's a good bit of sweet caramel, some toasted elements to it as well, but there's a bit of darker sort of treacle or molasses as they would call it over in America. Really nice, huge malty character to this one. There's a little bit of a nutty flavour, or a nutty aroma coming out of this beer too. Maybe even a little bit woody, but the main component of this one, just without sugar in it, really is the toasted caramel, and of course that's exactly what you would expect from barley wine. There's a huge ABV in this beer, so they will mask it a bit with some of these nice caramelly malts. So let's sugar it up a bit and see what else we get. Oh yeah, so as you sugar this beer up, you start to get more of the fruits out of it. I think personally, this beer does tend to still be a bit malty. That might just be because I've aged it a little bit. It was kept obviously nice and dark and things, but the malt base on this one really is what's sticking out of this beer. You can pick up a little bit of the hoppy character from this one though, but I always find that, I have to admit, Brewdog's double IPAs and their heavier beers like this, it does tend to be the malt that dominates in my experience, and you get more hops in the flavour than you do in the aroma, of course. But you can, mainly in the aroma, you're picking out a little bit of red fruity ester in this. You know, figs, raisins and plums. To me it leans more towards the figs and the sort of candied fruit aromas, I would say. Yeah, really when you sugar it up, it's a nice red fruity ester that comes out of this beer, but overall it is the malt that dominates the aroma here. And that's, you know, exactly, that's what you would expect from a barley wine beer. More malty dominant because it's the highest. When you go up from the double IPA to the barley wine, it's a higher malt to hops ratio. It's got more malt and things in it, higher ABV essentially. But yeah, it smells very nice. So let's get stuck into this beer and see how we get on. We'll get more hops out of the flavour of this. You can pick a little grassiness and sort of floral aromaticity, maybe some resin too, But that's very mild, more of a malt-dominated aroma, like I say. So this is the Clown King from Brewdog. This one was released in January of 2014. You guys will be seeing it in February of 2016. Slàinte. Oh yeah. That's another bloody good beer from Brewdog. Now, out of the series that I've filmed for you since I've been home, Brewdog, this is probably one of the best ones that I've reviewed out of that, actually. I've filmed maybe, I think it's 10, maybe 15 reviews for you from Brewdog since I've come home to Scotland, but this is right up there. This is one of the best beers that I've reviewed out of this series I've done for you recently. This is very, very good. And this is what I was saying earlier. For me, Brewdog are better at brewing high ABV beers. They're very good at stouts, and they're very good when it comes to barley wines and double IPAs and things like that. I think that's where Brewdog really excel. The IPAs and pale ales are good, but for me, in terms of all the other beer I've tried, Brewdog are one of the breweries that very much shine when it comes to double IPAs, imperial stouts, and things like that. You know, the high ABV beers for me is where Brewdog really kick out or give you their best efforts, if you like. But this is really nice. So much. This is one of the best Brewdog beers I've reviewed as well. So many good things. I mean, personal favourites of mine, I would say there was the Mixtape 8 was really nice. Anarchist Alchemist was another good one. I really love these high ABV Brewdog beers. This one is very, very good as well. So if you do manage to find this somehow, you have to try it. It's superb. Rated 92 on Rate Beer for a reason. So let's dissect the aroma a bit more. As I always say, you should sugar this beer around in your palate a little bit, especially when it comes to these more complex styles. You want your whole mouth to adjust to the flavour so you can start to think about the different parts of the flavour. Now that is really nice though. So yeah, the middle of your palate, there's a little bit of a bready character to it, but that's very, very light. On top of that, you're just hammered with caramel and treacle and molasses. This sort of really rich, syrupy caramel, that is just sits on the middle of your tongue. And it's absolutely beautiful. There's some woody and nutty flavours just infused in that. They come out a bit more. You start to take account of those a bit more as the beer progresses into the aftertaste. But it's really, really nice actually. It's the whole malt base in this is beautiful. And a barley wine, an English barley wine focuses more on the malts, if you like, and it's a bit earthy as well. But the American barley wines tend to have a really sweet caramel, and then they've got this nice, this nice juicy fruity character here. I really love the American barley wines. English barley wines are alright, but they're nowhere near as good as the American ones, I would say. But this is beautiful. That's definitely one of the best Brewdog beers I've reviewed. I really like this one. But yeah, as I say, the nice sweet caramel malt base. There is nutty and woody flavours in there. When you start to move into the hops, there is just a little touch of earthiness on the edge of the palate too. But I want to say, around the edge of the tongue, it's actually very smooth. This one leans more towards the red fruity esters, but you can pick up, I think there's some orangey citrus in there. If you just go behind that front curve of the tongue, you get this oily bubble, and that of course is where all your fruity esters will start to come out. I want to say there's some orangey citrus in there, but it's quite a rich orange citrus. It's not really sharp, and it's not really sharp, but it's a nice, rich, juicy, almost blood orange flavour that you're getting from this one. It mixes really well with this malt base that's going on in here. In this beer as well, there's definitely some pine resins just underpinning that, but they're very subtle. They're not giving you this really dry character on the edge of the palate. The edge of the palate isn't really dry at all, actually. It's actually very nice and very smooth, which is quite interesting. You do get a little bit of dryness in the back corners of the palate, and there's just a little touch of earthiness there. And of course, you need that when you have a barley wine. You want it to blend the hot parts of the beer, just to blend nicely with that big rich malt base that you're going to have. And there's just a little bit of that earthiness. As you come further forward, it smooths out very nice. But I definitely think there's a nice subtle pine resin flavour, maybe a bit of floral aromaticity as well, just underpinning this beer. But as you go around the front of the tongue, overall, it is very, very smooth. But the red fruit esters in this one are beautiful. There's a bit of tropical fruit in there as well, and of course when it's an American barley wine, you are going to get that. It's a bit of grapefruit. Maybe there's a wee bit of mango or something in there, but it's quite dark. You don't pick up too much of the complexity of the tropical fruit. You can tell it's there, but it's quite hard to pick out exactly what it is. It's more of a citrusy character in this, and then you've got the red fruity esters. That kind of nice dark orangey flavour is the most prominent fruity one. But then, as you move into the aftertaste, you start to get the red fruity esters out. That's the kind of candied fruit, like those little heart Haribo sweets in there. There's a bit of raisin, some plums, and some kind of figs and things like that. It's a very, very nice flavoured beer. It's beautiful. As I say, this is one of my favourite Brewdog ones that I've reviewed quite easily. This is in my top 5 or 6 Brewdog beers that I've reviewed. Very, very nicely done. But definitely a slow drinking beer, this. It's a nice sort of dessert beer, something like that. It's very, very nicely done. So yeah, you will enjoy this beer a lot if you try it. If you enjoy American barley wines, you are really going to enjoy this beer. It's absolutely beautiful. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one, definitely full-bodied, smooth carbonation in this. It's a big, oily mouthfeel, quite syrupy as well. It's probably fair to say that this beer has just a little bit of spice there, but that's probably the woody, leathery, and nutty flavours that are mixed in with the malt base there. It's very, very nicely done. Good bit of alcohol warmth, like I say. At 12%, you're always going to expect that, but it goes right down the middle of the chest there. Very nicely done. Nice big malty sweetness there. And there's a good bit of juicy fruit character, some citrus, a little bit of pine resin just underpinning this beer, and just a tiny, tiny bit of some hoppy, earthy character too. But overall, like I said, this is a very, very good Brewdog beer, and personally, one of my favourites that I've reviewed for you. So I am going to remember this one. Hopefully they rebrew it sometime and I can try another one of it. They do tend to archive their recipes and release them randomly down the line, so hopefully I can try this one again at some point in the future. But this is a beautiful, beautiful beer. If for whatever reason you do come across it, I'd highly recommend this one. This is one of the best Brewdog ones I've reviewed for you, and as I say, Brewdog do excel when it comes to these higher ABV beers. But yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to do another Brewdog one for you. I'm actually filming this one on New Year's Eve, or Hogmanay as we call it in Scotland. I'm just about to head to Glasgow and join my friends for a wee bit of a party, so I'm going to enjoy the rest of this, then head off. But do let me know your own thoughts on this one if you have tried the beer before. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the video. It's been really cool to do another one from Brewdog. So until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things. Your support there would be much appreciated, and do let me know what beers you'd like me to have a go of. Always interesting to hear from you guys too. But I thank you again for watching my beer reviews, and until the next one, do check out the social media things, and I'll catch you soon with my next beer review. Go and check out Brewdog and let me know some beers to try. Slàinte just now, and have a nice new year. Cheers.